Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex from Excel Edge Realty, and I'm here with my colleague. We're glad you could join us. Hi, everyone. I'm Vera, also from Excel Edge Realty. And hey, if you're an aspiring real estate salesperson, agent, or realtor focusing on that mid-price to high-ticket market here in the Philippines, well, you're exactly where you need to be. Absolutely. That's what this is all about, right? The deep dive. We take all this info, boil it down, and pull out the really important stuff, the insights that can help you. And today, we're diving into something really fascinating and honestly pretty crucial if you're in the Philippine real estate game, especially aiming for success in that mid to high ticket sector. We're talking about understanding Feng Shui specifically for selling properties to Chinese buyers. Yeah, our sources for this deep dive, they include some really insightful articles like 7 important Feng Shui tips to know when selling real estate from Upside PH, plus, our own internal notes and experience. And these really shine a light on a key segment of the market here, the Filipino-Chinese community. Now, you might be thinking, Feng Shui, really? Isn't that, well, just
Yeah, I know.
superstition? It's easy to think that, but as we're going to explore, it's actually a deeply ingrained cultural practice. It significantly influences buying decisions. And frankly, ignoring it could mean you're missing out on a pretty substantial chunk of the market. So our mission today, unpack the essentials, give you practical knowledge you can actually use. Okay, so first things first. That Upside PH article, it really drives home the importance of understanding your audience.
Right.
It mentions that the Filipino-Chinese community makes up like over 50% of their clients. 50%. And they're highly valued too for reliability, repeat business. I mean, that tells you the scale right there. It really does. And the article doesn't mince words. It says, and I quote, if you're hoping to sell your property to the Chinese, it's important to know Feng Shui. So not optional then. It's presented as like a key to even connecting with this market.
hmm And what's really interesting is that direct link, between understanding this ancient practice and achieving actual business success in real estate today. It just highlights how cultural sensitivity, that understanding, it can translate directly into sales. It's tangible.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with something that seems simple, but wow, it's impactful. Numbers. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Numbers. The number 4. Apparently, that's a major red flag. Right, let's unpack that a bit. The article explains 4, pronounced C, sounds really similar to the word for death, C in Chinese. So yeah, you can imagine trying to sell, say, a condo on the 4th floor. Or a house with the number 4 in the address. It's seen as basically inviting bad luck, not a great selling point.
And this raises a good question for you, the listener. How often do you actually pay close attention to the unit number or the numerical street address? Just that detail alone could potentially make or break initial interest from, well, a very significant group of buyers.
But wait, it's not just about avoiding the number 4, is it? It gets more nuanced. Yeah, Chinese numerology is definitely more complex. Like the number 5 apparently sounds like not. So get this, the combination 54 surprisingly flips things around. It means no death, which is actually good.
Exactly. It turns the negative on its head.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The number 8. Ah, the lucky number. Great wealth, right? Highly desirable. Everyone wants an 8, yes. But if a house number is, say, 58, let me guess, no great wealth. You got it. Suddenly not so lucky. And then there's 2, which means double. So combine that with 8. 28 becomes like super lucky. Double wealth.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, understanding these, let's call them numerical nuances, it allows you as the agent. It lets you either strategically highlight a property's lucky numbers that maybe emphasize that 28, or on the other hand, you can proactively address and maybe even, explain away potentially unlucky ones like a 58. It gives you tools.
Right. It's about being prepared. Okay, moving beyond just the numbers inside the house. What about the location, the surroundings? Yeah, the neighborhood matters a lot. The article talks about shachi, negative energy from the surroundings. Okay, like what? Give us an example. Well, think about hospitals. For many people, being near a hospital is convenient, right? A+, sure, for emergencies, makes sense. But in Feng Shui, hospitals are viewed as places where bad luck in the form of disease and death gathers. It's a completely different perspective.
Wow. Okay.
So the practical advice here, maybe don't push a property right next door to a hospital if you're targeting this demographic. It's likely a non-starter.
What's fascinating there is the contrast. Here in the Philippines, living near a church might often be seen as a blessing.
Definitely. A positive thing for many.
But Feng Shui actually views temples and churches, particularly if they have, say, graveyards attached, as having this sort of mixed energy. Divine, yes, but also ghostly energy, which could negatively impact the people living nearby.
Huh. So even seemingly positive locations can have a different interpretation.
Exactly.
Huh.
And the article even gives an example of a lucky location. Little Baguio, San Juan.
Oh, yeah.
What makes it lucky? It's described as being in the belly of the dragon, high enough to avoid floods, but low enough to be sheltered from strong winds. Ah, so that balance. Wind and water, Feng Shui.
Precisely. It paints a really vivid picture of what an ideal location looks like from this perspective. It's about harmony with the environment.
Okay, another big location point, T-junctions.
Right.
Avoid properties where a street ends directly facing the house, or ones facing oncoming traffic flow. Why is that? Well, the belief is that this setup invites negative energy and bad luck. The idea is that qi, the energy from the traffic, rushes into the house too fast. It disrupts the peace.
Hmm. This really makes you think about how you assess a property's location beyond just, the street name or the neighborhood amenities.
Mhm.
You need to consider the actual flow of traffic, the shape of the streets around it. Is the energy flow harmonious or potentially aggressive? And interestingly, the article mentions this isn't just a Chinese superstition.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently many cultures feel that intersections can bring like indecisiveness or instability, and some folklore even suggests ghosts might wander into homes located at dead ends, so there's maybe a broader unease there.
Interesting parallel.
Plus, let's be honest, the practical downsides are obvious too, right? Constant headlights sweeping through your windows at night. Non-stop traffic noise. Yeah, nobody really wants that, regardless of beliefs. Good point. Okay, what about the land itself? The actual ground the property sits on? Good question. Generally, flat ground is preferred. Symbolizes stability. Makes sense. But there's a twist. Having a mountain behind the property, that's actually considered really good luck.
A mountain behind, why?
It provides solid backing, like support, and it protects the property from strong winds that could blow away the good qi, the positive energy.
So it's symbolic, protection, support, represented by a natural feature. That's quite poetic, actually.
It is. And what if the property isn't flat? What if there's a slope? Ah, well, a slight upward incline from the street towards the house is actually seen as positive. Upward. Okay, why is that? It symbolizes the property increasing in value over time, like it's moving upwards financially.
Interesting symbolism.
Yeah, the article even mentions a specific example, a New Valley property, I think, with green mountains behind it, highlighting that backing feature. It shows it's a real consideration. Okay, so we've talked numbers, location, land. What about the entrance? The front door, crucial. The front door is seen as the mouth of qi, where energy enters the home. So it's got to be clear. Clear how? Nothing blocking it, no big trees right in front, no tall overgrown shrubs obstructing the path. You want a welcoming, open entrance for that good energy.
Makes sense visually, too, usually.
And here's another really interesting detail about doors. Go on. The front door should not be directly aligned with the back door. Okay? Why not? Straight line seems efficient. Too efficient. The belief is that any good energy, any positive qi coming in the front door will just flow straight out the back. Whoosh! Gone. Ah, so you want the energy to circulate within the home, not just pass through.
Exactly. It needs to linger and benefit the occupants.
This really highlights how much the internal layout matters, doesn't it? How energy is perceived to move through the actual space. It's not just about the front door.
Precisely.
Uh-huh.
Which brings us inside the property, the flow within the house.
Right. The article stresses that Chinese buyers often look for open and uncluttered rooms, wide hallways, spaces that feel unobstructed. And the opposite, narrow, dark, cramped areas. Yeah, those are seen as trapping negative energy. They block the smooth flow of qi and potentially good fortune.
So when you're showing a property thinking about this,
You really need to emphasize spaciousness, right? And light. Lots of natural light, definitely. Natural light is a huge plus. So open those curtains, highlight the windows. But there's a balance, isn't there? You don't want too many windows, maybe? Feeling too exposed.
that's a good point. It's about light and openness, but also a sense of security and containment, not feeling like you're living in a fishbowl. And this loops back to something practical we often talk about anyway: presentation, staging, decluttering, maximizing light. These aren't just generic staging tips. They actually align perfectly with these fundamental Feng Shui principles.
So doing good staging is doing good feng shui, in a way.
In many ways, yes. It makes the property more appealing on multiple levels, including this important cultural one.
And what about condos? Anything specific for apartments or high-rises?
Yeah, the article does mention that for condominiums, higher levels are often preferred. Higher up is better. Why is that? Well, two main reasons given are better natural light, usually, and often more auspicious views. Auspicious views like mountains, greenery.
Exactly. Things associated with positive natural energy rather than, say, looking directly at another building's wall, or worse, something considered negative like a hospital. Higher floors often provide those better vistas. Got it. Okay, wow, that's a lot to take in, from numbers to views. It really is. So let's try and bring this all together. What does this all mean for you listening? You aspiring real estate pros, agents, realtors here in the Philippines, especially if you're targeting that mid to high ticket market.
Well, I think the main point is understanding these Feng Shui principles.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing a few random tips.
Right.
It's about showing cultural intelligence, understanding your client's perspective.
Yeah.
And doing that, it can seriously increase your chances of connecting, building trust, and ultimately closing deals with a really vital segment of buyers.
Absolutely. It's about demonstrating respect and understanding.
So by being mindful of the numbers,
Yeah.
the location, not just the address, but the surroundings, the flow, the energy flow inside the house, the layout, even the direction it faces, you can position yourself not just as a salesperson, but as a knowledgeable, trustworthy advisor.
Mm-hmm. And that understanding, that extra layer of knowledge, it really can be the edge that sets you apart in what we know is a competitive market. So we really want to encourage you. Think about the properties you're listing right now, or the ones you're looking at. Do any of these Feng Shui points jump out? Can you see ways to maybe highlight certain positive features now? Or perhaps, think about how you might address potential concerns if a property has, say, a T-junction location or an awkward number, now that you have this deeper understanding.
It's about applying the knowledge proactively.
Exactly. And look, this deep dive, it's really just scratching the surface.
Oh, for sure. There's so much more depth to Feng Shui. We highly recommend you explore it further if this interests you. And hey, for more insights, especially from folks dealing directly with this clientele, you could check out the podcast, Life on the UP Side, Things I Learned from My Chinese Clients. Yeah, that's on Spotify. It's hosted by Upside Realtors, Miter Alipio, and Cabby Alipio. Could be really valuable.
Good recommendation. And of course, for more information on how we at Excel Edge Realty can help you navigate the Philippine real estate market, particularly in that mid-price to high-ticket space, please do visit our website. It's www.exceledge.com.ph. That's www.exceledge.com/ph. And one last thing, if you found this deep dive helpful, if you got some value out of it, and you know other people in the industry, aspiring agents, seasoned realtors who could benefit from this knowledge, please take a second, click that follow button, and share this with them. Spread the knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much for tuning in and joining us for this deep dive today. We really look forward to exploring more fascinating aspects of the real estate world with you next time, right here on The Deep Dive.